My fellow Americans, I need your full attention. The phone in your pocket has become a weapon. In 2026, the greatest financial threat to Americans over 50 is not market volatility, inflation, or taxes. It is AI-enabled imposter fraud, engineered specifically to target retirement savings, 401ks, IRAs, pensions, and the lifetime nest eggs you spent decades building. According to FBI IC3 data, Americans lost over $12.5 billion to fraud in 2024, and FTC reports confirmed that seniors alone lost $4.9 billion in 2025. Those numbers are not stabilizing, they are accelerating in 2026 because the criminals have evolved. These are not amateurs working from basements. These are professional fraud networks using artificial intelligence, behavioral psychology, and real personal data pulled from breaches, public records, and everyday digital activity. They profile you before they ever call. They know your age range. They know you have assets. And they know you value security and family responsibility. Here is the most dangerous shift you must understand. They no longer break into accounts. They no longer steal passwords. They convince you to move the money yourself. One authorized transfer, one temporary protection step, one moment of urgency. That single mistake can trigger loss of financial independence, dependence on children or family, permanent disruption to retirement plans, months or years of recovery battles. This is not about being careless. Many victims did everything right by old rules. The rules changed. If protecting your retirement and your family's future matters to you, like this video and subscribe to Jack Secure. This mission only works if accurate information reaches people before the scammers do. Now, I want you to understand the mechanics because knowledge is the only real defense left in 2026. Here is the key shift you must understand. In 2020, most scams relied on digital mistakes, bad links, fake websites, or suspicious emails that could be deleted. Protection meant avoiding clicks and keeping antivirus software updated. In 2026, that model is obsolete. Modern scams rely on human interaction. Criminal organizations now purchase and aggregate leaked data that reveals your age range, where you bank or shop, whether you receive Social Security or Medicare, that you likely have retirement assets. This data allows them to pre-qualify victims before making contact. You are not randomly selected. You are identified as financially stable and responsive. AI systems then generate scripts tailored specifically to Americans over 50, people who act responsibly, respect authority, and want to resolve issues quickly. The language is calm, the explanations sound reasonable, the tone mirrors legitimate customer service. The scam typically begins with a phone call claiming to be from a bank or fraud department, Medicare or Social Security, Amazon or another trusted brand, or a government security or investigation office. Once you engage, even briefly, the system escalates. Your responsiveness is logged. Your reactions are assessed. The caller adapts in real time. Before we go further, hit the like button so this briefing reaches other Americans who don't realize how much the threat has changed. The consequence of misunderstanding this shift is severe. These scams no longer fight technology. They bypass firewalls, passwords, and two-factor authentication entirely. They go straight after judgment, trust, and urgency. One trusted conversation can override decades of good financial habits. One moment of compliance can undo 40 years of disciplined saving. Understanding this evolution is critical because defending against modern fraud requires a different mindset, one based on verification, not familiarity. I want you to understand this clearly because this may be the most dangerous shift of all. In 2026, voices can be cloned in minutes. Scammers no longer need long recordings or advanced access. They use everyday audio that most people don't even realize is exposed. Voicemail greetings left on mobile phones, short phone conversations with customer service, public videos on social media or community sites, automated recordings and callback messages. With just a few seconds of clean audio, modern AI systems can recreate tone, pacing, and emotional inflection with alarming accuracy. This is not experimental technology. It is widely available, inexpensive, and actively used by criminal networks. With that capability, AI can convincingly impersonate a bank fraud officer, a government or Medicare representative, a spouse calling in distress, a child or grandchild asking for urgent help. This is why the voice sounded right no longer means safety. Familiarity has become a liability. What once reassured us now creates compliance. The brain is wired to trust known voices, especially in moments of urgency. Criminals exploit that instinct deliberately. Before we continue, subscribe to Jack Secure if you believe Americans deserve protection, not panic. The consequence of trusting voices is devastating. Victims authorize wire transfers, initiate retirement withdrawals, and approve account changes because they believe they are stopping fraud or helping a loved one in danger. By the time doubt sets in, the money has already moved through systems designed to be irreversible. This is not identity theft in the old sense. It is likeness fraud, the misuse of your voice or the voice of someone you trust to manipulate decisions. According to federal trend data, AI-enabled impersonation scams are now over 4 times more profitable than traditional fraud methods. And the growth curve is steepest among Americans over 50 precisely because trust and responsibility are being weaponized. The most important adjustment you can make in 2026 is this: verification must replace recognition. You no longer ask, does this sound real? You ask, can this be independently confirmed? Once you internalize that shift, the power begins to move back into your hands. Let's analyze another critical 2026 tactic: digital arrests. This is one of the fastest-growing fraud methods targeting Americans over 50 because it attacks a powerful instinct: the desire to stay compliant and out of trouble. Victims are told, often within seconds of answering a call, their identity has been linked to a serious crime. Their bank or Medicare accounts are under investigation. Failure to cooperate immediately will result in legal action. The language is precise and intimidating. Case numbers are provided. Supervisors are transferred in. Deadlines are imposed. The callers present themselves as federal agents, IRS or Treasury investigators, Medicare or healthcare fraud units. This is what we refer to as the phantom authority. The authority is not real. The fear is. The role is designed to override logic by triggering compliance. Criminals understand that many Americans over 50 were raised to respect institutions and follow lawful instructions. That respect is now being weaponized. Halfway through this briefing, tap like so we can protect more of our neighbors who may not recognize this tactic until it is too late. The psychological effect is deliberate. Once fear is activated, the brain shifts into threat response. Verification feels risky. Asking questions feels dangerous. Victims are told they must act now to protect their accounts or prove cooperation. That is when the instructions begin. Move money to a secure government-controlled account. Withdraw retirement funds for temporary custody. purchase gift cards, or wire funds for verification. Every step sounds procedural. Every step sounds official. The consequence is psychological shutdown. Fear replaces verification. Compliance replaces logic. And victims unknowingly send their own money directly to criminal networks. Let me be absolutely clear. No federal agency arrests people over the phone. No government office demands secrecy. No legitimate investigation requires immediate money transfers, ever. Understanding this single point has saved countless families from financial ruin. When authority demands urgency and isolation, it is not protection, it is manipulation. Recognizing the phantom authority is how you break the spell before irreversible damage is done. Medicare changes in 2026 created a new opening for criminals, and they moved into it immediately. Anytime a large federal program adjusts benefits, enrollment rules, or verification procedures, scammers follow. They understand that healthcare is personal, confusing, and emotionally charged, especially for Americans over 50 who depend on uninterrupted coverage. Scammers now call claiming coverage updates due to new federal rules, benefit revalidation or eligibility confirmation, Medicare card replacement or reissuance, billing corrections tied to recent claims. They already know your age. In many cases, they know which plan type you have. They reference real terminology, real timelines, and real agencies. The voice sounds professional. The explanation sounds reasonable. And then urgency is introduced. You are told action is required to avoid coverage suspension, claim denial, out-of-pocket penalties, loss of benefits. Before moving on, subscribe to Jack Secure. This is exactly how fraud spreads quietly while people assume the call is routine. Healthcare fear is one of the strongest emotional levers criminals have. When medical access feels threatened, logic takes a back seat. People comply quickly because the cost of being wrong feels too high. The consequence of one Medicare scam call can be extensive and long-lasting. Identity theft using your Medicare number, unauthorized access to linked bank accounts, medical identity misuse where fraudulent services are billed under your name, complications that take years to fully resolve. Unlike financial fraud, medical identity theft can follow you indefinitely. Incorrect records, denied claims, and billing disputes become a recurring burden. Here's the critical reality. Medicare does not cold call beneficiaries to demand verification. They do not threaten immediate loss of coverage. They do not request banking information over the phone. Scammers depend on the assumption that most people do not know these rules. By understanding how healthcare fear is weaponized, you remove one of their most effective tools. You begin to slow the interaction, verify independently, and regain control. Protection in 2026 requires recognizing that urgency around healthcare is rarely legitimate and almost always strategic. Once trust is established, the scam expands methodically and deliberately. At this stage, the criminal is no longer focused on a single issue. The objective becomes full financial exposure. What started as a warning or a protective call now turns into a sequence of required steps, each framed as reasonable and temporary. Victims are commonly instructed to move funds into so-called secure holding accounts, withdraw money from 401ks or IRAs for temporary protection, purchase gift cards or wire funds as part of a verification process. Each action is explained as preventive. The language is calm. The instructions sound procedural. The victim is made to feel they are cooperating with professionals who are trying to help. Before the next section, hit like if you believe retirement money should be protected, not stolen. Here's the critical truth. This is how lifetime savings disappear, not through hacking, but through authorization. Banks process legitimate requests. Retirement platforms comply with account holders. When the person on the line is the account owner, the system assumes good faith. There is no alarm triggered when you request your own money. Criminals understand this perfectly. Funds are often moved in stages, first from checking, then from savings, then from retirement-linked accounts. Each step builds momentum and reduces hesitation. By the time doubt appears, the money has already been routed through multiple channels designed to be irreversible. The consequence extends far beyond the initial loss. Victims face frozen accounts during investigations, months or years of disputes with banks and agencies, loss of financial confidence, increased dependence on spouses or adult children. For many Americans, this is not just theft, it is a forced loss of independence. Recovery, if it happens at all, is slow and incomplete. And the emotional toll, stress, embarrassment, and anxiety can be as damaging as the financial loss itself. Understanding this phase matters because this is often the last moment where intervention can stop total damage. Slowing down, questioning the process, and refusing to move retirement funds under pressure can preserve everything that follows. In 2026, protecting your retirement means recognizing that urgency plus authorization is the most dangerous combination of all. This is critical, and I want you to hear it clearly. Victims of modern fraud are not careless. They are not uninformed. They are not reckless with money. In fact, the people most frequently targeted in 2026 are the ones who did things right for decades. They're targeted because they have real assets and retirement savings. They act responsibly when a problem is presented. They want to resolve issues quickly and correctly. They respect institutions and follow rules. Criminals are not looking for confusion. They're looking for cooperation. To achieve that, scammers exploit three psychological levers with precision. Fraudsters present themselves as banks, government agencies, or healthcare officials. The goal is not intimidation, it is compliance. Authority discourages questioning and makes hesitation feel inappropriate. Victims are told there is a narrow window to act. Money is at risk. Benefits may be suspended. Legal action is implied. Urgency prevents reflection and short-circuits verification. Perhaps the most dangerous tool, victims are instructed not to speak with family, advisors, or banks until the issue is resolved. That silence removes the last layer of protection, outside perspective. Before we close, subscribe to Jack Secure if you want to stay ahead of these evolving threats and protect what you've built. The consequences of these scams is not limited to financial loss. Victims often experience deep embarrassment and self-blame, loss of confidence in decision-making, reluctance to manage finances independently, increased emotional stress within families. This is what criminals truly steal, not just money, but certainty, confidence, and peace of mind. Understanding why responsible people are targeted is empowering. It removes shame and replaces it with awareness. And awareness is the foundation of defense. When you recognize that these scams succeed by exploiting good traits, not bad ones, you can protect yourself without questioning your judgment or your worth. Let's close with 3 clear, actionable briefing points. These are not technical tricks. They are defensive disciplines designed for the realities of 2026. Briefing point 1. Never resolve financial issues through inbound calls. If a call comes to you claiming fraud, account problems, or benefit issues, the correct response is to end the call. Legitimate institutions do not require real-time problem-solving initiated by strangers. Hang up. Locate an official number yourself on the back of your card, your statement, or inside a verified account, and make the call independently. Control the channel, and you control the risk. Briefing point 2. Assume all voices can be cloned. In 2026, voice familiarity is no longer evidence of legitimacy. Customer service representatives, supervisors, and even family members can be convincingly replicated using short audio samples. Trust process, not sound. Verification must come from independent confirmation, not how real or reassuring a voice feels. Briefing point 3. Refuse secrecy. No legitimate bank, government agency, or healthcare provider will demand confidentiality from your spouse, adult children, or trusted advisors. Requests for secrecy are a primary warning sign. Transparency protects you. Silence protects criminals. You did not work for decades, save responsibly, and protect your family's future to lose it to a scripted voice and artificial urgency. If you believe in protecting American families through knowledge and preparation, subscribe to Jack Secure. This channel exists to brief, educate, and defend before harm occurs. Stay alert, stay informed, stay secure. Jack, founder of Jack Secure.